Hello and welcome to the IndieCommerce video documentation on creating a block in Drupal 7. Keep in mind this information is intended to be used in conjunction with the written documentation on the same subject found in the IndieCommerce Help Center on bookweb.org. In this video, we'll talk about blocks, how they're made, and how they're used on the site. A block is intended to be a discrete box of information, text, images, and/or links. A block can be created from scratch, but Drupal also creates one automatically whenever a menu is created, and there is also a list of blocks that already exist for your site, most of which are disabled when the site is first created. IndieCommerce has also created a few blocks that are added to the site by default. Looking at my homepage, you can see the blocks posted in my left and right sidebars. The Indie Next list, the search form, Indie Bestsellers, shopping cart, event calendar, and list of upcoming events. These are all blocks that can be moved around the site or removed from the site. All of these blocks in particular have been created either by Drupal or by IndieCommerce. So let's take a look at the existing blocks on the site and talk about how they're placed. To look at a list of existing blocks, go to Structure and Blocks. This brings us to the block administration page. This page will show you if any blocks are placed in a particular region. At the top left of the site, you'll see a link that says Demonstrate Block Regions. If you click it, you'll be taken to a page that highlights all of the different block regions where a block could be placed. Click the link again, which now says Exit Block Region Demonstration, to go back to the block administration page. Down the page, you'll see bold entries on the far left indicating each block region. Under each bold entry, you'll either see that one or more blocks are listed in that region, or you'll see no blocks in this region. This part of the page will show you where all of your visible blocks have been placed. For some Drupal themes, there are only a few possible block regions, such as left sidebar, right sidebar, header, and footer, while other themes can have nearly 24 block regions. The theme I'm using, which is Responsive Bartik, has about 15 regions. Scrolling down the page, we can see that there are 3 blocks listed in the sidebar first or left sidebar, and 3 blocks listed in the sidebar second or the right sidebar. If you keep scrolling down the page, you'll see a bold header that says Disabled. These are all of the blocks that exist on your site but are not being displayed anywhere. Their block region is listed as None. Each block has a drop-down menu to the right with a list of all of the different block regions. If you just click on a specific region, you'll notice the block disappears from the disabled list and appears in the list of blocks for the selected region. So my footer message just went into the footer section. To disable a specific block, just choose None as the region. Once a block has been moved to a specific region, you can use the little 4-pointed arrows to move them up or down within that region, thereby changing the order in which the blocks appear. To the right of each block is a Configure link. Through that link, you can edit the contents of the block if the block is editable, and it also allows you to control other aspects of the block, such as which pages it appears on and what type of user can access it. We'll take a closer look at these controls when we build a block. Keep in mind that blocks created by IndieCommerce or Drupal or as the result of creating a menu are not content editable, but they can be moved and they can be access controlled. Further to the right, some blocks also have a delete link. If a block was manually created by the store, it can be easily deleted. However, again, if a block was created by IndieCommerce or Drupal, or if it was created in conjunction with a menu, there will be no delete link. If you don't want to display one of these blocks, you'll need to choose None as the region in order to disable it. Now let's look at creating a block from scratch. In this case, we'll be adding a block of basic store info, including address, phone number, email address, and store hours. From the top of the block page, you can click Add Block, or you can go to Structure, Blocks, and Add Block. In either case, you'll be dropped into a set of tools that look much like the ones we saw when we were creating a page. Creating a block is much like creating a page, though a block is missing certain tools, like a book list or file upload, and offers other options not found when creating a page or event. Starting at the top of the page, Drupal first asks you for a block title. The title is not required, and if included, it is displayed to customers at the top of the block. The next field is the block description, and it is required. This is just a name that you give the block so that you can tell it apart from all the other available blocks on the block administration page. Next is the block body, and has all of the same features that we looked at in the video on creating a page. Below the body field is the region setting. Most stores will only have one theme enabled, so you would see your default theme with a drop-down menu of the different block regions for that theme. Since my test site has a lot of other themes enabled, we see a long list of themes here. However, I'll only be using my default responsive Bartik theme. In this case, I want the block to appear at the top of the left sidebar, so I'll choose Sidebar first. Once the block is created, I'll be able to arrange the left sidebar blocks as needed. Finally, at the bottom of the page, there are visibility settings. These allow you to make a block visible only on certain pages, or only on certain types of content, or only to certain roles, for instance, store administrators or order administrators. Using these tools, you can create a block with specific info on an event and have the block appear only on that event page. It's also possible to create a daily to-do list for the staff and feature it prominently on every page of the site. If any staff member logs into the site, they would see the to-do list unavoidably front and center, but customers would never be able to access it. So let's build a block. Starting at the top, we have the block title. This block doesn't need a title, so we're going to skip that. Next, the block description. For this, we'll just say store info. Next is the block body. I have some store information. I'll just paste it here. I've already configured the region setting by choosing the left sidebar or sidebar first. And finally, the visibility settings. In this case, I want the block to be visible to everyone and on almost every page. You can see that blocks are automatically restricted from some pages. This is a holdover from Drupal 6. Drupal 6 generally displayed the default theme whether you were just looking at the site, editing content, or even processing orders. The problem was that a store might have a block in the right sidebar, for instance, that was covering certain order information. So blocks are automatically restricted from appearing on any page where an administrator might be editing the site or processing orders. Drupal 7 obviates this by creating a special theme that always appears when you're administering the site and does not display blocks. Looking at the other links, you can see that we can arrange for the block to appear on certain content types, such as all pages or all events. As mentioned earlier, we can also arrange for the block to appear only to certain roles or account types. The last option allows you to give visibility control to each user so they can decide if the block should be visible. Now, we'll save the block, but we'll need to go back to the home page to see it. Now, I put the block in the left sidebar, but Drupal placed it at the bottom of the left sidebar. So I want the block to go to the top of the sidebar. So what it'll do is go back to the block administration page, and I'll scroll down to the sidebar first, and here's my store info, the new block that has been added. It's at the bottom of the list. So I'm going to grab my little four-pointed arrow, I'm going to drag it up to the top of the list. And then we'll save it. Once the block has been placed on the site, you can access the block by going to the front and hovering over the block. You'll see a little gear. If you hover over the gear, you can click to go back in and configure the block. So from here, we can add a little bold. And we'll save it. And that is how blocks are done.